All right. We did it. Hooray. Welcome, everybody. Hello, my name is Tara, your resident harmony nerd, and this is Music Theory Monday. Today, we are going to talk about how to build a major scale. There's a formula I'm going to teach you all so that you can start on any pitch ever and know, at least via music theory, that you are building the scale properly, right? I think many, if not most of us, can hear a major scale when we're just singing it. Major scale sounds like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So if you were ever in choir class, you likely, hello from the Philippines, that's lovely. Hello from Brooklyn in the US, in New York City. Welcome, so happy you're here. So if you were ever in a choir class, you probably learned do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is what we call solfege syllables, right? And that those solfege syllables represent the major scale. So another way to sing a scale would be to use scale degrees. And what scale degrees are is they are numbers that are relative to the scale that you're in, okay? And they can be interchanged with do, re, mi. So for example, the same scale, right now we're in the key of G, right? We have do, this could also be called 1, okay? And the first scale degree is always the name of the key. We're in the key of G, the first scale degree is G. If we were in the key of F, what would the first scale degree be? Go ahead and drop your answer in the comments, please. F, yes, exactly. Awesome. Great work. Cool. So if we were in the key of C, our 1 or our do would be C. If we were in the key of Q, there's no key of Q, but even if there was a key of Q, Q would be the first scale degree. All right. Going back to our example in the key of G, we have do or 1, the first scale degree. Then we have re or 2, the second scale degree. Then we have mi or 3, the third scale degree. Fa or 4th scale degree. La or sol or 5th scale degree. I got ahead of myself. La or 6th scale degree. Ti or 7th scale degree. And then we're back to do. Okay, and do is technically the 1, right? It's the same pitch as the 1, but because we're an octave above where we started, we can call it 8. But either are acceptable. We can call it 1 or we can call it 8. Are there any questions on the scale degrees and how they relate to the solfege syllables? Do, re, mi. Hi, Amanda. Nice to see you this morning. This afternoon for you in England. All right, no questions on TikTok? No questions on YouTube? I took a little nap, just woke up. Well, good morning then. It's your second morning. How fantastic. Yeah, thank you for the likes, everybody. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's now translate, because the great thing about using scale degree numbers and solfege syllables is that these can be translated to new keys. Okay, so that was just an example in the key of G. But now let's translate. Let's take this information we learned and let's translate it from the key of G. This is known as transposition. In music theory, we call it transposing, but you can think of it like translating. We're going to transpose the major scale from the key of G, And we're going to now play, now we're going to play in the key of C. So now this is our starting pitch. We're in the key of C. So what letter name of the note is our one or our do? Go ahead and drop the answer in the comments. Remember, the name of the key is always going to be the first scale degree. And we are in the key of C. I also want to welcome you, and I apologize for not saying this earlier, but if you don't have a piano or a keyboard in front of you, I do recommend downloading an app, a free keyboard app. There are so many. I really like this one called The Piano by Impala. It's only available for Apple products. Unfortunately, I like it because it has the note names and the octave numbers. Like, for example, C is C4. Okay. But having a keyboard handy is going to be a great tool for this Music Theory Monday. And if you don't want to download an app, you can open a browser on your laptop or computer or your phone and go to virtualpiano.net. And that'll give you a keyboard that you can work with on your browser. Virtualpiano.net. The name of the app is just called The Piano, and it's by Impala, Impala. I'll show you what it looks like in the App Store. Looks like this, piano. I can update it. It's by Impala. Were you able to find it? Oh, yay, welcome. We have a new community member. Hi, Angie. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for the follow, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Okay. Are we using C major scale? Yes, so we just played a G major scale, and now we're translating it to C major. So our one now becomes C. You can also call it do, okay? So follow along with me. You can find a C on your keyboard. If you're not familiar with the keyboard, what you're gonna do to know that you're on a C is, no, that's not the one. There we go. What you're gonna do, exit out of that because we're not paying. Okay. You're gonna find two black keys, right? There's several sets of two black keys that go around the keyboard, see? And then you're gonna go to the left. Oh wait, this is backwards for you all, right? I think I was able to, no, that's not it. Unmirror the video. Yes, okay, cool. So find two black keys next to each other and then go to the left. And that's a C. And then you can use your ear also to make sure you're playing the right pitch. Does it sound like this? Okay. So now we're finding a C major scale. So C becomes our one or our do. Then we have our re or two, second scale degree. This is a D in this key. Third scale degree, mi or the E. Fourth scale degree, F or fa. Fifth scale degree, G or sol. Sixth scale degree, la or A. Seventh scale degree, T or a B. And then we're back to C, which is our octave, right? So technically our eighth scale degree, or you can loop it back to one, okay? So now we've built a couple of major scales, understanding the scale degrees. So what do you do if like you want to play a major scale, but you want to start, I don't know, here or here, right? Because the C major scale, if you noticed, if you were playing along on your keyboard at home, it's all white keys, right? So if you don't have key signatures memorized, which we're going to talk about key signatures and how to work with them at a future Music Theory Monday, but not today. If you don't know key signatures, how can you figure out which notes are in the major scale? Because if, for example, let's start on a B. So we were just on a C, okay? Go to the note right below it, the white key right below the C. Sounds like this, okay? So if we were to play all white keys starting on a B, the same way we just did for our C scale, it's not going to sound like a major scale. Listen up. Right? Not quite sure what that is, but it's not a major scale, right? The major scale sounds like... So how did I know, if I didn't know the key signature for B major, and if I got frustrated using my ears to figure it out, how would I know which notes to play? That's where this formula comes in handy. So the formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. I'm going to teach that to you right now. So whole means a whole step, okay? And half means a half step. What are whole steps and half steps? Okay, so looking at your keyboard, okay, a half step is the smallest unit of measurement in the Western scale. And a half step is the closest key, right? So if I'm on a C, a half step above a C is going to be a C sharp. And the next half step above is D. The next half step, D sharp. The next half step, E. Now look, there's no black key here, but that's okay. It means our next half step is the next white key, which is F. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're playing chromatically, meaning we are hitting every single note. In Western music, there are only 12, okay? If you count all the white keys and the black keys from one note to the next note, there are 12, okay? And here we are again, no black key in the middle, so our half step is just from one white key to the other white key. Okay, does that make sense? What half steps are? Let me know in the chat. Because this is a super important concept to understand how to build anything in music theory. Half steps are our basic building block for everything, for scales, for triads, for intervals. We have to have a thorough understanding of half steps in order to build anything, right? Think of it like 2x4s. If you're building a house, right? You have to have 2x4s to build a wall, to build a door, to build, you have to, this is like the main ingredient, you have to have it. Think about trying to make bread without flour, right? The half steps are your 2x4s. They're your flour, right? You need them. You need to understand them for music theory. Do you need to understand them to learn or play music by ear? No, you don't. And I think that's what's so cool about music is there's like these formulaic music theory ways to do things. And then there's like, you can just listen and play along and still be fantastic at it. It's such a cool thing. Okay. So now that we understand half steps, okay, the next thing we need to know is that there are 2 half steps in one whole step. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. There are 2 half steps in one whole step. Got it? Okay. So if we start on a C and we want to find a whole step above C, we know a whole step is 2 half steps. So I'll go 1, 2 half steps. Okay. So a whole step above C is D. What if I want to find a whole step above D? 2 half steps. 1 half step, 2 half steps. Okay. A whole step above D is E. Now what if I want to go a whole step above E? This is a little bit trickier because we don't have a black key in between here. So we're going to go 2 half steps. 1, 2. Okay. So a whole step above E is this black key here, which is an F sharp. Okay. And what if we go a whole step above this F sharp? 1, 2. We're on a G sharp. Okay. Does this make sense? Whole steps versus half steps? Are there any questions? Because now that we understand whole steps and half steps, our formula for building a major scale makes a lot of sense. Is anyone unfamiliar with the note names themselves? I know if you downloaded an app or if you use virtualpiano.net here, that it should tell you the name of the pitch right on the key, which is really helpful. And if you own a keyboard, I'm guessing you probably know the names of the notes, but maybe not. A lot of people play by ear, and I think that's really cool and totally valid. So I never want to discourage anyone from making music in whatever way comes naturally to them. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's subjective. Okay. All right. So when we're building scales, major scale, and I'm going to put this in the comment on both YouTube and TikTok. We're doing whole, half, whole, half. Okay. The W's stand for whole and the H's stand for half. Okay, that's your formula. Whole, half, whole, half. So since we've been working with C major a little bit today, let's go ahead and deconstruct. We know that C major starts on a C, which is the key to the left of 2 black keys. Okay, if you're on YouTube, you can see here above with the keyboard image that's above me. And that will help you find the notes. And we know from just having sang and played the scale that the C major scale is all white notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay. So let's use our formula now that we know how to build half and whole steps. Let's use our formula and deconstruct if C major follows the formula. Okay. So we're going to start on C. C is our first scale degree, or do. Okay. It can also be called the root or the tonic. There's lots of words for the same idea in music theory, and I think that's part of the reason it gets really confusing, okay? So we're going to call this the 1, first scale degree, okay? Now, look at the formula that I dropped in the comments. The first one is a W, so that means whole. Okay, and we know that there's 2 half steps in a whole step, so 1, 2. Okay, D, so cool. From first scale degree to second scale degree is a whole step. It follows our formula. Great. What about from our second scale degree of D or re to our third scale degree of E or mi? Well, when we start on D and we go another whole step, there's another W there in the formula. We know that's 2 half steps, so we count 2 half steps to get to E. Okay, so from C to D is a whole step, and from D to E is a whole step. So that's your whole. And now, next in the formula, we have an H, which is a half. Okay? Which means, what is a half step? Who knows in the comments? It's so important. So I'm going to sit here and wait until somebody gives me the answer. And I'll have a sip of my coffee. What is a half step? How big is a half step? A half step is the smallest unit. It is the smallest unit. Yes, the closest key. Hey, Edgar Allen, how are you today? You're correct. It is the closest key. So if we're on this E here, the closest key is a white key. There's no black key in the middle here. So if I go from E to F, that's one half step. It's the very closest one. So looking at our formula, we have whole, whole, half. Okay, cool. So far we followed the formula. Let's continue. Next we have another W, okay? So another whole step, which means two half steps. So we're gonna go 1, 2. Okay, cool. Another whole step, 1, 2, all right. Third whole step, you see there's 3 W's in a row there. Okay. And then we finish it off with another half step, which as you can see, there's no black key. So that's our T to do, right? Our 7 back to 1 or 8. So we just use the formula to deconstruct the key of C and say, okay, cool. So I know this is do to re is a whole, do to re is a whole step, and re to mi is a whole step, and mi to fa is a half step, and fa to sol is a whole step, and sol to la is a whole step, la to ti is a whole step, and ti to do is another half step. I'm not warmed up at all. Please forgive my little nice shaggy little morning voice. All right. So it's fairly straightforward in the key of C, but the key of C is the only key in Western music that has no accidentals. What's an accidental? An accidental is a sharp or a flat, okay? And most often the black keys are sharps or flats, but it can be a white key too, as you've seen, because there's sometimes no black key in between 2 white keys, okay? So before we move on to applying this formula to a new area of the keyboard, I wanted to just focus a little bit on accidentals and what they are. So if you are on a pitch, okay, I'm just pressing this A here because it's in the middle of the keyboard. And if you go up a half step, okay, boop. If you go up from A, you're raising the pitch a half step, and that is called a sharp. Okay, so if we're on A and we want to go to A sharp, we go up a half step. Okay, so that's what a sharp is, but what's a flat? A flat lowers by a half step. So a sharp raises by a half step, makes the pitch higher by a half step, and a flat lowers by a half step. So let's now start on this B, okay? And if I wanted to go B flat, I am lowering it. And this same black key is now B flat. And it's the same pitch. The difference is, was I coming from above or was I coming from below? If I'm going from the top down, I'm making it flat. If I'm going from the bottom up, I'm making it sharp. So A sharp is this black key, and B flat is this black key. And there's a word for that called enharmonic equivalence. Okay? A sharp equals B flat. They are the same thing. We use different language to describe them because it's all relative, right? So it depends on where we're starting. Music theory is mostly relative, and that's part of why it can be so confusing. I am well, Edgar Allen. I hope you're well too. Thank you for asking. Does that make sense? Are there any questions on sharps or flats? Let's do one more. Actually, let's do 2 more. Let's do 1 to review this concept. So now let's try on a D, okay? So if I was gonna play a D sharp, I would go up a half step, okay? So now this is a D sharp. But what if I was starting from E? And I wanted to go down a half step, it now becomes an E flat. Okay? D sharp equals E flat. same pitch, different names, and harmonic equivalents. Okay. And then let's do one on F. No, I lied. Because I want to show a not black key. Okay, so B. Let's start on a B. B sharp. What is B sharp? What key is right next to B? It's a C, right? But it can also still be a B sharp. And this happens when you're in a key signature that already has a C sharp in it. You might call B a B sharp. Or you could natural out the C. It's getting a little in the weeds. Let me know if you want me to go into further depth on that. And then if you start from the C sharp and you want to make it flat, you're going back to a C. But it can also be a C sharp flat. Right? And we don't see this much in traditional like Western pop music. I feel like these kind of really intense amount of accidentals appear mostly in like jazz or avant-garde music, okay? So it's not something to worry about too much. I just wanted to touch on that concept. There's a lot of Brooklyn traffic sounds going on out the window. Are you all hearing it? Is it very distracting? Do you want me to shut the window? Okay, keep me posted. Let me know in the comments if the traffic sounds are bothering you all and distracting you, okay? All right, so now that we have a little more knowledge about sharps and flats, let's try to build another major scale. It's okay. All right, thank you, Val. I would love for somebody to pick a random note, any note you want on the keyboard, and we're all gonna work together to build a major scale. So drop in the comments what key you'd like to work in. The letter name of the note is the name of the key, right? It'll also be our one or do. Anybody want to pick? Pick a letter, any letter A through G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 7 unique whole step pitches, and then we have all the half steps as well. All right, we have a D and an F. Let's do both. These are really great suggestions because, well, you'll see. I'm not going to give it away. That would be a spoiler. All right, so let's first do D, okay? So we have Edgar Allan B. B is a tricky one. We'll do all 3 of these, and then that'll be it for today. And tomorrow we're going to do some ear training based on these major scales, okay? So if you're new here, I teach music theory on Mondays, and then on Tuesdays we apply what we learn with ear training, okay? You don't have to be at both for them to make sense. You can come to them independently and still understand what's going on, okay? So here we go. We're going to start on D, okay? D now becomes our first scale degree or do, all right? And we have our formula, which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So the first thing we do is 2 whole steps, okay? We know that there's 2 half steps, 1, 2, to make a whole step. So this is telling me my second scale degree is E in the key of D. So E becomes my re, all right? And now we have another whole step, and there are 2 half steps and a whole step, so we're gonna go 1, 2. Okay, we have a black key in this key. All right, makes sense because I know that C is the only key that doesn't have any black keys. So from E to F sharp is now our 3rd scale degree, or mi. So we have do, re, mi. Okay, that was whole, whole, so the next is half. So we're gonna go right next door. So we know our fourth scale degree, or fa, is going to be G. Okay. Now we have 3 whole steps coming up. So 1, 2, all right. So our 5th scale degree is sol, or an A in the key of D. Another whole step to get to B, or la. Okay. And then we have one more whole step. Okay, this is our last whole step in the formula. 1, 2. Oh, another black key. So we have C sharp. That's going to be our T, or our 7th scale degree. And then we're back to do, because our last space between 2 notes is a half. Cool. So there's a half step right there, right next door. And now we're back to do, or the octave, or 8, or 1. Okay. So let's review from our low D, our 1, our tonic, our root, 1st scale degree. We have whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Again. 1st scale degree, whole step to 2nd scale degree, whole step to 3rd scale degree, half step to 4th scale degree, whole step to 5th scale degree, whole step to 6th scale degree, whole step to 7th scale degree, half step to 8th scale degree, or the octave. Did that make sense to everybody? Are there any questions on the key of D? Okay, why, when we went up the scale, why is this F sharp and why is this C sharp instead of G flat or D flat? And that's because as we're going up, right, we have a whole step, okay? So if we call this G flat, there's already a G in this key, right? Because the next note is a G. So that's how we know this has to be an F sharp, right? We don't have 2 of the same note in the same key. We wouldn't have D, E, G flat, and then G. Okay, so that's how we know this is an F sharp. This is a sharp key and not a flat key. So we learned about accidentals, right? And if a key has accidentals are sharps or flats, they're either going to be all sharps or all flats. You're not going to see a key signature with sharps and flats in it. Also, what is a key signature? Key signature, if you're not familiar, I'll just show you really quick. When you're looking at sheet music, there are clefs. And next to the clef, there are little sharps or flats. Okay, like for example, here's Ode to Joy by Beethoven. So do you see, this is the clef, okay? And then there's a little sharp right next to it. It looks like a hashtag sign. See it on YouTube here too, okay? That's where the key signature is. And you're never gonna see sharps and flats together. Let me show you a flat key now. Oh, here's another sharp key. Oh, that is very pixelated. Let's not use that one. Okay, here's a flat key. Do you see how this one here has, it looks like a little letter B, a tiny little baby B? That's what a flat looks like. Okay. Show you a couple more examples. Here's a good one. Okay, so this is a really good example because do you see how many, there are a ton of flats in this key signature right here. There's 5. Okay, but you see how they're all flats? There's no sharps. They're never gonna mix and match. They're always gonna be either all flats or all sharps. And let me see if I can show you another one with a lot of sharps. Here's one. Okay, same idea here. Lots of sharps in this key. There's 4 sharps, but they are all sharps. We don't mix and match. All right. So does that make sense as to how I knew that in the key of D it was F sharp and C sharp instead of flats? Let me know if there are any questions on that. I'll give it a minute before we start building our next whole major scale, which is going to be the key of F. Hey Jeffrey, nice to see you today. Welcome. Okay, no questions? It makes sense. Okay, awesome. Fantastic. All right, let's now build the key of F. So if you're using an app like me, you might want to slide. You can use this little thing here to slide where you're seeing on the keyboard. So we want to start on an F. And if you don't know where an F is on the keyboard, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and use this green screen behind me. If you're here on TikTok, you're going to find 3 black keys, and then you're going to go directly to your left. Okay? This is an F. Should sound like this. Okay? And now we're going to use our formula. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. It is really cool. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself, Edgar Allan, and thank you for thanking me. I'm so happy to teach this. There are formulas for all different types of scales. This is major scale formula. In the future, we'll go over minor scale formula, and there's a bunch of different styles of minor scales, right? We only have really one major scale, and then there's a bunch of what is called modes of major scales. But for minor scales, there are 3 different kinds of minor scales that we can build. And we hear pop music in all of those scales. Okay. So let us now build a major scale off of F. So we have whole, whole, half. So first thing is 2 whole steps. Remember, a whole step contains how many half steps? 2. Okay. So we're starting on an F. 2 half steps above an F is a G. So G becomes our second scale degree, or re. Then we have another whole step. So now we're on an A. An A becomes our third scale degree, or mi. Now we have a half step. So if we just go to the next key over, we have a B flat. Okay? Do you notice that this is a B flat and not an A sharp? Why am I calling this B flat? Because we already have an A. Okay, A is mi, or the third scale degree in F. So that means we're going to call the half step above, which is fa, or our fourth scale degree, we're going to call it B flat instead of A sharp. Make sense? So now we have whole, whole, half. Okay, great. Now we do 3 more whole steps. 1, 2. Okay, so now C becomes my 5th scale degree, or sol. Another whole step. D is my 6th scale degree, or la. Another whole step. E becomes my T, or my 7th scale degree, and last half step brings us back to do, or our 1, which in this case is F because we're in the key of F. So the key of F, the key signature has 1 flat, B flat, key of F, okay? And something as you're learning how to build major scales and you're learning key signatures, you're going to notice that there is what we call an order, right? It's like an order of operations, remember in math from school? Like there was an order of operations that you did things in certain order. Like I think if there were parentheses, that came first, right? You do the math equation within the parentheses first. And then you would do, I forget the exact order, but maybe you recall what I'm talking about. So the same thing happens with flats and sharps. When we're building key signatures, they build off of one another. So in the key of F, we have 1 flat, B flat, key of F. Every other key signature that has flats in it has a B flat. B flat is always the first flat. okay? There's an order, and the order is B, E, A, D, G, C, F, and that never changes. There's an order for sharps as well. Sharps start with an F sharp. So the key of G has one sharp, F sharp. F sharp is always the first sharp. And the order of the flats forward is the order of the sharps backwards, right? So flats are always B, E, A, D, G, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And sharps are always F, C, G, D, A, E, B. It's really fantastic how everything is mathematical and kind of ties up back into itself. Now, don't worry about memorizing the order of the sharps and the flats. We're going to do that a different music theory Monday when we work on key signatures. Today, we're going to keep focusing on building major scales. So we have one more we're going to build, and then I'm going to sign off for today. And that last major scale starts on B. B like boy, okay? Picked a real tricky one. There are a lot of black keys in the key of B, all right? It's a popular key though. It's a good one, okay? So first things first, we're gonna find a B to start on, okay? You can either use your app or the keyboard to figure it out, or you can find 3 black keys in a row, go to the highest black key, and then go up, 1 to the right. And there's your B. It should sound like this. Okay? So as you can see, just to go a whole step from our first scale degree to our second scale degree, we're getting started on a black key, okay? So, all right, formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Starting on a B, we need a whole step. So we go 1, 2, from the first scale degree to the second scale degree, okay? Our second pitch is going to be a C sharp, okay? Now we go up 2 from there, 2 half steps, 1, 2, for another whole step. Okay, so our third scale degree, or Mi, is going to be D sharp. So starting from the top, we have B, first scale degree or Do, C sharp, a whole step away, right? So second scale degree or Re. D sharp, another whole step away. Okay, this is our Mi, or our third scale degree. Now we're going just a half step. So next door is an E. Okay. Now we have another whole step to get to our fifth scale degree. Okay, so our fifth scale degree becomes F sharp, or Sol. Another whole step. G sharp becomes La, or our sixth scale degree. One more whole step. A sharp becomes T, or seventh scale degree. And then one half step brings us back to Do, or the octave. Okay? So there's a lot of black keys in the key of B. As a piano player, I actually think of B as being all black keys except B and E. Everything in this key is a black key except B, Do. Oh, that's not B. B, Do. And E, Fa. So our first scale degree and our fourth scale degree are white keys in the key of B, and everything else is a black key. Let's review this one more time. B is our first scale degree, or Do. C sharp, a whole step away from B, is Re, or second scale degree. D sharp, whole step away from our second scale degree, is our third scale degree. Fa is E, or our fourth scale degree. Sol is a whole step above Fa, a whole step above to our fifth scale degree, or Sol. A whole step to La, or our sixth scale degree, which is G sharp. A whole step to T, or our seventh scale degree, which is A sharp. And then we're back to B, a half step away, which is the name of our key. How we doing out there? Excuse me. Is this making sense, using this formula to build major scales? So this is a great time for questions. If anybody has any, I'm going to log off soon. But if there are any questions on YouTube or if there are any questions on TikTok, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Edgar says, my mind is blown. The formula is game-changing for me. Yeah, I think that a lot of people feel like they can't understand music theory, but it's really formulaic. And for some people, learning by ear is the best. And for some people, learning these formulas is really a game changer because it kind of helps you understand what you're looking at. And I think that if you try to memorize pitches, like, okay, a C scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then you try to memorize, okay, a B scale is B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Like, you get lost in the sauce, you get lost in the weeds. So having a formula that you can always rely on to decipher where the major key lands. And I also find that formulas are great because it's all relative. If you know the formula, it doesn't matter where you start on the keyboard. It doesn't matter where you start on the guitar. It doesn't matter where you start in your singing voice. Like, you're going to be able to figure out which notes are in the major scale. And if you can figure out which notes are in the major scale, then you can effectively figure out the key signature. And I feel like key signatures can be scary for people too. Edgar says, I can read sheet music from band, but never learned to transpose or create scales. Yeah, I think that this is like, this kind of stuff is either like an intro to musicianship kind of class or like a music theory class. And I think in band that they kind of focus more on teaching you how to play the instrument versus like the theory behind it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I was only in band for 1 year. It was my senior year, and they needed somebody to play mallet instruments. So, I mean, I already knew how to play piano, and like a xylophone is just like a giant piano with different kind of keys, and you need mallets to hit it. So, like, I already understood. I just had like a new technique to learn. So I am correct. Okay. Yeah, and it might be different from school to school. But think about it too, is when you're a band teacher, you have what, like 30 to 60 kids in a class? Like, they don't put 60 kids in any other class at the same time except maybe gym. So those band teachers have a lot going on. And then at least at my school too, they would pull you from your regular class to go have like a 20 or 30-minute music lesson. That was the best. I'd always ask my music teacher to like schedule my lessons during my least favorite classes. And they would do it for me too, because I was a suck up. Edgar says, we learn the very basics with music theory, pretty much just how to read the sheet music. Yeah, they're trying to bare bones to just like get you to be able to play with the other students in the band. Yeah. So I'm glad that this was helpful. So thank you everybody for hanging out today. If you have any more questions or observations, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to share the rest of my weekly offerings with you if you're new here. My name is Tara. I'm a professional singer based in New York City, as well as a music educator, composer, and content creator. My content creation journey led me to understand very quickly that music education is behind a steep paywall and that people are hungry for it. They want this knowledge. So in response to that, I go live 5 days a week on both YouTube and TikTok. I'm the same handle on both platforms at Resident Harmony Nerd. I have a really lovely following on TikTok, and I just started my YouTube a few weeks ago. So if you're on TikTok and you can hop over to YouTube and subscribe, I'd be greatly appreciative. You can find me by searching at Resident Harmony Nerd. Hi, Fairy House. Nice to see you today. Or if you go to my Linktree, you can click on my Linktree and there's a button there for YouTube so that you can just go directly to my YouTube profile and follow me there. Subscribe to me there, rather. And the awesome thing about YouTube too is that they automatically repost these live replays. So if you're ever at one of my sessions and you're like, oh man, I really don't understand the music theory of what we're working on today, you can go back to my YouTube and find the lesson on whatever we're working on. So for example, on YouTube, this is a Music Theory Monday, what we're doing together right now. there is a playlist on my YouTube for all of the replays of Music Theory Monday. So, like for example, today we built major scales. A few weeks ago, we built major triads. So, if that's helpful for you, you can then go to my YouTube and watch the live replay for major triads. So, you don't have to miss out on anything if you can't join live. Uh, if you enjoyed the formula stuff and you're not on my email list yet, go to my link tree, click on the first button, join my email list. You're going to automatically be sent a PDF that will teach you the formulas for building major triads. And it'll also teach you formulas for how to practice ear training for these triads on your own. And this is a game changer if you want to learn how to sing vocal harmony. You have to be able to hear a major triad, and you have to be able to ear train a major triad. Like, you have to memorize what it sounds like and be able to regurgitate it in order to be good at vocal harmonies. So once again, that free PDF comes to your email inbox once you join my email list. Okay. And I am terrible about sending out emails, so I'm not going to spam you all, I promise. Yay. Thank you for the gifts. Appreciate you, Jenny. All right. I am going to get better at email lists this year. It's one of my goals for 2025, but I am moving next month, so it's probably going to be a little while before I start with the regular emails. And you don't expect them more than once or twice a month. Tuesday, my offering is Ear Training Tuesday, and Ear Training Tuesday is a sister session with Music Theory Monday. You do not have to attend both for the other to make sense. But on Tuesdays, we will ear train using the knowledge we learned from Music Theory Monday. Wednesdays, I do warm-up Wednesdays. That is me walking you through my warm-up routine as a professional singer. I will tell you why I do everything and why I do it in the order I do it in, so that you can develop your own vocal warm-up routine. Okay? Thursdays are free voice lessons, and this week's topic is registers. So we're going to talk about the different registers of your singing voice. Thank you for the heart me. Hi, Tina. And the different registers of the voice are like chest voice, head voice, and mixed voice. So if you've heard those terms but they kind of mystify you and you're not sure what they mean, our free voice lesson on Thursday is going to be about registers. And then Frequency Friday is like the deep soul conversations about putting yourself out into the world and being a creative person. Okay. So if you go to my profile on TikTok or on YouTube, you'll see that all of these live events are pre-scheduled, and that will show you what time they are in your own time zone. And if you're on TikTok, you can pre-register. That way TikTok will remind you when I'm live. And if you're on YouTube, you can click the notify me button and YouTube will notify you when I'm live. So that way you don't miss anything. And don't forget that the replays are always posted on the matching. Yay. Did we just make the goal? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, there it is. I was like, where's my baseball home run sound? And there it came. Finally came. Don't forget that the replays are posted on YouTube. There's a Music Theory Monday replays playlist, Ear Training Tuesday replays playlist, Warm Up Wednesday replay playlist, and so on and so forth. Okay. If you are able to send a donation or a tip, there is a button for that in my link tree as well. It's the third button down. It says tip me please. When you open it, it'll bring you to a document that has my Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal information. Even $1 helps me keep this content free and accessible to everyone in the community. Obviously, if you are not able to contribute, you are still more than welcome here. And of course, I offer one-to-one online lessons. If you're interested, you can shoot me a DM or email me. My email is on my website, which is also in my link tree. So much talking! That was so many words! Okay. Any last questions on this formula, how to build a major scale? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I am in the process of creating study guides also, so like when we work on this, you're going to be able to, if you want to buy a study guide for like, I don't know, maybe $2 or $3. So like if you were here today and you wanted to retain this information, you didn't take notes, you'd be able to just like go to my Linktree and buy a $3 study guide with all of this like just written on a one-page PDF so that you don't forget and that you have a little something. I figured too that might be a nice way to encourage people to leave tips, right? Because it's a small amount that I'm asking for in exchange for you get something in return beyond the wealth of knowledge that I'm sharing on these lovely live streams. Fairy House says, please tap the E if not tipping to show support. Yes. And thank you for saying that too. Ways to show support without that are not monetary are, yes, liking, sharing, following. If you can hop over to my YouTube and subscribe, that's a huge help. Yeah, anything you can do. And if you have any questions, always reach out. And if there's something that you would like me to create content around, feel free to suggest that too. I just dropped a video yesterday on what is vibrato and how to use vibrato with your singing voice. Somebody asked me for that information in a voice lesson last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. It took me a little while to get around to it, but I'm happy to create content around what the people want to know. Okay. Thank you for hanging out, my friends. My name is Tara, resident harmony nerd. I love you all. Thank you for being a part of the community. I will see you tomorrow. Ear Training Tuesday is scheduled for 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I am in Brooklyn in the United States, okay? And if you want to know what time that is in your time zone, go to my profile, click on the live event, and TikTok will show you what it is in your own time zone. Thank you, everybody, for all the gifts. You're so generous. Oh, Edgar, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube also. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. All right, fantastic. Hi, love, over on YouTube. Love it too. Nice to see you here. I'll see you all tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time for Ear Training Tuesday. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye.